Thank you to Sakuraco and TokyoTreat for sponsoring today's video. Hi guys, welcome back to another video. So as you can see, I'm making a bunch of stickers as I was doing some late minute kind of cutting and printing of stickers at home because I am attending Animethon, and by the time you're seeing this video, I am going to be probably tabling for the second day, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to show you guys how I make these stickers at home. So come along with me as we go with the process. So to kind of start off, I am going to be doing most of the sketching and stuff on my iPad first. So we're going to sketch on my iPad on Procreate to kind of get a general gist of what we want to kind of have our sticker look like. So I'm going to be basically following a specific format that I've been doing for the majority of my chibies recently because I think the style is just more cute and the colors kind of pop more and they're a little bit easier to read. So I'm going into my Genshin folder and getting basically the two little red circles you can kind of see behind Sethos, and I'm going to copy and paste that to a new canvas so we can make 3 new designs for today. So the 3 people that I'm going to be drawing or making designs of are actually VTubers, so I'm popping this into my VTuber folder. So to kind of prep everything, I am going to resize the canvas to be a little bit on the larger side, just because I want to be able to set kind of 3 different arrangements of these circles so that we can have a good base for just kind of like start out with. And you're gonna see that I'm using the 2 circles basically to give me a guide for proportionings for the chibies, as I've been more or less trying to stick with the 2 head size chibies instead of the 2.5, which I used to do in the past. I find these just a little bit more cuter and a little bit more simple for me to draw and kind of like push out designs if I need to update them. And it's just really easy for me to follow like the same format for everything so that I have some kind of consistency throughout them all. So on the very left, I am going to be drawing Mint Fantome. So she is a VTuber, she is indie, and I thought it'd be just cute to add her because I wanted to draw more VTubers, but I didn't have enough time to add them to my lineup. So I ended up only doing Hololive EN and Hollow Stars EN. I would eventually like to do all of DG of like the EN side and some of my favorite Oshis and stuff, alongside with some other indie ones in the future, as long as they permit fan art of them. But for now, we have Mint, and then later on you will see that I'm going to be drawing also Doki Bird, and I'm gonna draw her kind of like original design alongside with her skin suit, or I guess like her second design in this case, just because I think both designs are really nice, so I would like to include both of them. And I haven't drawn Doki fan art yet, and I've been wanting to, but I've never found the time to quite yet, so hopefully in the future. But for now, let's go ahead and just continue to sketch out our little chibis. So in Procreate, I am using the 6B pencil just because I like using something that's like a little bit punchier in terms of like the line quality, just because I will spend a little bit less time fussing with certain details, and you can kind of see I'm keeping my sketches quite rough for the most part, and as long as I have enough detail for me to go off of when we do the coloring and line work, then it kind of just works out well in my favor. And for the most part, when I'm working on such a small scale, or not exactly. So on kind of like my canvas size, it is kind of on the larger-ish size, but we are going to be scaling down the chibis quite a bit. Also, every time I take a pause, it's because I have stickers cutting into the background, so I have to go ahead and like take them off the little mat, reload the mat with new sticker paper, and let it send in to be cut. So I am kind of going back and forth with doing these sketches as fast as I can and kind of being efficient and letting my machine still cut and my printer still printing out stickers, just so we can kind of keep a flow of things. But back to my train of thought. I work on a larger size canvas first, and then I will eventually size it down a lot when we start to export the chibis on their own and before we start to actually print and cut. Now, the reason being is that why I even said like on a small scale is that when I decided to switch the style for these chibies, I wanted them to be much more easier to read at a small scale, because even though I draw them big and if I add all these details, as soon as I print them out, sometimes you can't even see the details, and that might differ from different printers or however you're doing your sticker files or whatever. So for the most part, I don't want to add too many details and I want the lines to be bold, but we'll talk about that once we get to the line art stage. So right here, you can see these are all my chibi designs that I did in the past, but let's go ahead and move on to Clip Studio Paint. So before moving to Clip Studio Paint for the line art, let's take a break with our sponsor TokyoTreat and Sakuraco. If you're looking to try out new snacks from Japan, then you're in luck. Sakuraco and TokyoTreat have these lovely snack boxes where you can experience Japan from the comfort of your own home. TokyoTreat is a monthly pop Japanese snack subscription box with 20 of the latest exclusive, limited edition, and seasonal flavored Japanese snacks that are only available in Japan for a limited time. This includes a full-size drink, an exclusive ramen, and a variety of different kinds of snacks. I'm seeing a lot of savory or like salty snacks this time that I kind of have my eyes on. While Sakuraco is an authentic Japanese snack subscription box, Sakuraco supports local Japanese snack makers, and each box comes with 20 traditional, authentic, and artisan Japanese snacks, but also includes Japanese teas and has a special Japanese tableware. So for the month of August, the actual tableware for this month's box is the Kingyo Mino Ware plate that has this really cute blue and red design. Apparently, these little goldfish symbolize wealth, fortune, and good luck. Both boxes come with a 24-page cultural guide, and I love that it includes information regarding ingredients and allergens of each of the snacks, but also informs you about little tidbits of information revolving around the culture and traditions in Japan. Each month has a different theme, meaning that you get to try out a whole new selection of new treats and snacks every month. For example, TokyoTreat's box theme for the month of August is Summer Matsuri Flavor Fest, while Sakuraco's theme is the islands of Okinawa. Let's go ahead and check out this month's tea from Sakuraco. I already love the fact that you can drink this tea cold, as summer has been extra hot this year. Steep the tea and pour it over ice, or steep the tea for 5 minutes in cold water. So I actually really love drinking cold iced tea, so this one's really perfect. And like I said, it's been really hot lately, so an iced tea is perfect for this kind of temperature and weather right now. Also, I probably have found my absolute favorite snack from all the boxes that I've tried in the past. Well, kind of like at least from the salty snack department. I love sour foods. So the super sour vinegar chips are probably one of my favorites, definitely as like a saltier-ish snack, or I guess sour snack in this case. I also really enjoyed the 7 spice in mayo cariento as well, and I really love using like shichimi in my food. So this flavor does have kind of like that similar kick to shichimi, so I really enjoyed this one as well. And I had the sweet potato chinsuko while I was drinking my tea, and I kind of found that they paired nicely together because the snack is a little bit on the sweeter side and the tea is just kind of nice to pair with it if you need kind of like a little bit of a cleanser. So if you would like to get a box for yourself or want to give these as a lovely gift to family or friends, then check out the link in the description to get your boxes today. Thank you again to Sakuraco and TokyoTreat for sponsoring today's video. Now back to the line art for those chibi stickers. So now that we're in Clip Studio Paint, I am going to I already sent the file to myself via Discord, and I'm going to save it to my computer, and then we can open it up right here. I'm going to sort out all my layers. You can kind of also see in the corner that I'm cutting stuff while I'm working, so I'm going to cut the footage in a ways that kind of makes a little bit more sense, and I'm not like hopping around trying to do 2 things at once. But let's set up our references. So I'm using Pure Ref right here and plopping in all my reference images that I want to use. I've set my Pure Ref to have a transparent background as well. That way I can have it kind of like sit and float on top of any of my drawing programs that I'm using, and it doesn't kind of get in the way, and I don't have to open any extra windows to have my reference kind of like stay there, if that makes sense. I find it a little bit easier for me to pan on Pure Ref what's like floating on top, rather than having several Clip Studio Paint windows open and having those to kind of pan through. But the line art. So for consistency's sake, I make sure that I'm drawing all the chibis pretty much at the same size in terms of like the actual format, which is why I tend to paste all of those little red circles onto 5x7. And then if I need to expand, I will, but most likely I won't resize the chibi itself, just to make sure that I keep the actual size of the image the same so that I can keep all the line art and all of the coloring, everything to basically match. So for the line work, I am using the Milli pen, which is in Clip Studio Paint. I have it set to size 15 for the most part. You can kind of see that sometimes I mess up right here and I'm using size 12 instead of size 15. But for the most part, once we kind of do some of the final touches and this like fixing everything up, you don't really notice some of these small mistakes. But I prefer using the size 15 just because it kind of prevents me from doing too much detail here and there. But you'll see that I'll switch to size 10 every so often to do some of the smaller ones that I think are a little bit more pertinent for their design to be a little bit more recognizable. But for the most part, we're sticking with the size 15 just because I think it's a good mix of a thick line width for the line work. Oh, also, the Milli pen basically has no tapering. So for me, I find it a lot easier for me not to have to worry about line width variation or like smaller faded tapered lines getting lost when printed. So I want to keep everything nice, clean, like nice and clean and nice and bold. So now with the line art finished, we can go ahead and basically select the entire line art folder and hold control so that we get everything selected. I will increase the pixel selection source, I guess, by I think 15 or is it 10? Somewhere in between there, which is why the lines look so thick right now. And I'll put that at the very bottom of my canvas or like on my layer kind of order. And then after that, we can paint in our kind of flat fill of the entire chibi. And for me, if I find any places that I need to erase, I'll go ahead and do that manually so that we can kind of make sure that every subsequent kind of like color layer will be clipped onto this particular flat so that we can kind of keep all of our colors contained. And I find this the easiest way to keep everything nice and clean, and I don't get any weird areas that kind of like miss a little bit of those pixels of color for the most part. I think the coloring process is actually pretty simple. So I'm doing everything with only kind of like cell shading rather than using any soft shading because I'm trying to keep everything very easy to read at a distance. The only time I will use any gradations is that if they have a gray, like a gradient or kind of color fading in from one end to the like another in their hair or their clothing, then I will use the airbrush tool to do that. But other than that, everything else will be in cell shading. I usually also add the eye on a separate layer so that we can change the color a lot easier. Everything else is on the same layer, except for I think eyebrows as well. And then when I'm working on the face, I will go ahead and make any areas that are not really like touching, let's say hair or clothing, I'll make that more of like a softer reddish brown so that it just looks softer on the face compared to everywhere else. And then as you can see while I'm doing the hair, I kind of just do a simple band of shadow. I'll add in some hearts or stars for their highlights, and then we can kind of change the line art color as well. And I've done it in a very weird specific way, which I don't really show here, but I color in the upper half of the line art that is not touched by the shadow to be the same color. So as it's not getting touched by the shadow and it's kind of getting hit by the light, it is lighter line art instead of having it to be the very straight up kind of like dark black outlines that we currently have for our line work. At least for me, compared to like my previous chibis where I put too much detail and there's too much like shading and the lines change different colors and like all of that. At a small scale, I do think that my printer, which I'm going to be using a laser printer, which obviously is not going to have super high quality, and they kind of do like individual dots that lay on top of your paper rather than using my photo printer, which kind of has, I think, dye or pigment based inks that kind of seeps through. So I don't think I talked about it too much, but printer usually kind of matters a little bit. Oh, also, I'm gonna do Doki off screen just to save a little bit of time. So here we are. I'll talk about printers another day, maybe, if you guys are interested, because I won't delve into it. But basically, laser printers don't print in as much detail as probably a photo printer. It's not exactly as smooth. So I feel like it kind of works out for these kinds of designs since the colors are so bold. But let's move on to the sticker process. So the sticker cutting machine that I have is the Silhouette Portrait 3, and it does come with the Silhouette Studio, which is the program that you're seeing right now. But I think I talked a little bit more in depth with the actual process of using Silhouette Studio in a previous video, so I'm not going to delve into it this time, hence why I'm not really showing you in detail and I'm not doing it in screen recording so you guys can see. But basically, you can set up your template for your stickers as such on this program, and I'm here kind of just Tetrising all of the chibies onto the kind of like sheet of paper or the canvas that we have set out. After that, I will print it out, and you can kind of see this is what it looks like. So you can see that the registration marks are also printed alongside with my chibies, and I'm using kind of a, I think, standard white gloss paper from onlinelabels.com, and I find it has a pretty good price for the simple kind of white paper for laser printers, so that is what I'm using. After that, moving stations to the kind of like little side area that this office has, and I'm using this cold lamination, or I guess like cold lamination film, or adhesive transparent film. I do have it with the sparkly kind of like coating on it, and I'm going to peel off about 1 to 2 inches off of the backing paper. Then we're going to go ahead and stick part of it to the actual sticker paper, and I always stick it on the place that does not have the actual black registration mark starting point, so I usually put it on the bottom. Then after that, I will stick it to the table, but because this is a wood surface, I don't really want to stick anything on it in case I peel anything up, so I'm sticking it onto this piece of white I guess like masonite board that I've made. So I'm going to use also a squeegee or like some kind of card with piece of felt on the very end, and I'm basically pushing against the little transparent film so that it applies very smoothly onto the sticker paper. I find this way makes it a lot easier to not have any bubbles, and I'm not going super fast because I don't want to miss any areas and lay it down all at once and create those bubbles that are impossible to get out of the vinyl. But this is kind of like what it looks like. You can't really see too well, but it's pretty much all of a very smooth finish. There's no bubbles in sight, and I find this method to work pretty much foolproof. I'm also going to cut off this little extra 1 inch or so off the back end of this piece of paper, and we can move on to our cutting station. So now that we have all of our sheets laminated, let's go ahead and stick it onto our mat right here. I'm using an Art Cute map or Art Cutie mat. I don't know which one it is per se. It's not the one that came with the machine, as that one has lost its grip. And I am just gonna adhere this to the mat. And you're gonna need a mat if you want to be able to cut out like kiss cut or like die cut stickers, just because it's a little bit more sturdy, and I find it easy to allow your cutting machine to read. And as you can see, it's going to go through and read the registration marks on the top and the bottom, which is why I highly recommend you try to avoid messing with the edges of your paper. Otherwise, your cutting machine is not going to be able to read and start cutting accurately, or not even start at all sometimes. So I'll show you a bit of a close-up of what it looks like when it's cutting. Also, it's just very loud, and I have music blaring as well, even though it's probably, I think it's like 3 a.m. by the time I'm doing this. And basically, this is the little last cut of everything, and end. I have my pressure set to I think 10, and it cuts I think 3 times with the vinyl because the vinyl does make the paper a lot thicker. So I want to make sure that these cut all the way through so I don't have to like punch these out. And they actually cut out pretty cleanly, and I actually really love how these turned out. I think they look super cute. And I think kind of with the black lines and kind of the bolder colors and the sparkles just look super cute together. So as we're nearing the end of the video, I hope you guys can kind of see what I do to kind of like make these little vinyl stickers at home. I think they turn out really cute, and I've definitely changed the method how I've made these from the previous time, as I've been using this cold lamination method instead of using the hot lamination transfer films. But yeah, I really like how these stickers turned out, and I hope you guys do too. And I'll talk to you guys next time in the next video. Bye!